the effects of emotional, physical, or psychological trauma during childhood in the mind. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Rapid Subconscious Reprogramming. Here, Tommy Walker, the mind engineer. I've been studying the mind and working on the mind for over 15 years, and I have helped thousands of people around the world with this work. And I want to share this with as many people as possible to help them understand how the mind works, how our past is affecting us today, and how to be able to start making changes. So welcome back to another episode of Rapid Subconscious Reprogramming Community. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you. So let's get going. Hi, Susan. Hi, Susan. Thank you for being here. And anybody else watching on social media, if you can write #live, if you're watching live, #replay. If you're watching on YouTube, if you can join us, comment, love this. We appreciate that. It's free and it gets more, it helps us get more people to see it and benefit from this that we're doing. So thank you very much. So let's talk about what we're saying, the effects of emotional, physical, or psychological trauma, how I put it, like this during childhood, how it impacts the mind. So one of the things that we need to understand is that our mind comes to this world is wired for deep connection, love, and acceptance. And you can see that a lot in kids, right? Kids don't come to the world and become violent or they become racist. Those are things that they start learning according to the environment they're in. From 0 to 7 years old, our mind is in a way, in a mode that is getting everything from the environment and creating our belief system. And most of the times we're trying to fit in to be able to be loved and accepted by our community, whether our parents or siblings, your grandparents and things like that. So if you look at each person, you're going to see that each person has their unique belief system, what they believe around love. If you ask somebody, not considering the meaning of love from the dictionary, what love is, people might look and associate different words with love, and I call it like a flower and it has petals. So love, it could be compassion, sharing, laughing with another person, whatever. Each person is going to have their unique combination of attachments to the word love, and that's what a person believes love is. Another person, if you ask them about what a relationship is, what a man is, what a provider is, depending on their environment, depending on their childhood, they're going to see the world a different way. So, we have women that might want to stay at home and be moms, homestay moms, and that's fine. And you might have women that want to go out there and become a CEO in a company, and that's fine. And if you look most of the times to what happened at home, you're going to see some patterns that are going to repeat. And it's not always like that, because how we learn from our parents is how mom and dad treat each other, how they treat themselves, and how they treat us. From there, that in a blend, and that's in a blender, and that's how we create our own belief system. So imagine that, I was looking at a dad that was very hardworking, and mom was, a stay-at-home mom. Maybe in my case, I see a man and my dad, and I saw dad working very hard. I might go out there and start working very hard because that's what I think it should be the right thing. A lot of people might say, but tell me that's the right thing. Yes and no. It is maybe the right thing according to what most people are saying, but is it what I really want to do, or am I doing it because I was taught to do that? And most of the times, this is what I want you to understand, is most of the things that we believe in have been, again, programmed. They're not really ours. So I'm not saying that you don't need to go out there and start working hard, work jobs, start a business, whatever it is. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is most of the times we're doing things because we were told, we were programmed. We didn't think about what we're doing and is it really what we want to do? And this is very important to understand. Okay, so our brains, our mind are wired for deep connection, love, and acceptance, and trauma, and I put it like this, rewires is for protection. What do I mean with that? That many times when we go through terrible events, a parent beating their kids up, a parent sexually abusing their kids, from there being kind of the extreme to a parent that is neglecting their kids, a parent that left the home and is not around, even small things that seem, quote unquote, smaller things could have a big impact. So what the consensus is nowadays is that whenever we didn't feel loved and accepted growing up, that could be trauma, a big T trauma or a small t trauma. But whenever we didn't feel loved and accepted, that created pain. So what happens? The effects of these type of things in a kid. First of all, the kid doesn't start hating mom or dad or both. A small kid that is beaten up, that is sexually abused, that is abused mentally, emotionally, or physically, a kid doesn't start hating their parents. The kid starts hating themselves. As kids, we believe that we are the center of the universe. So when we are not feeling loved, accepted, when we are beaten up, when we're screamed at, when we are maybe sexually abused, what happens in the mind of that kid is the kid starts thinking, what did I do wrong? What's wrong with me that I deserve this? And we start creating negative stories to try to understand what happened. So when we create those negative stories to try to understand what happened, negative stories, we start believing that there's a problem with us, not with mom and dad. We cannot at that age make sense that mom and dad have unresolved issues, that mom and dad have have limitations, that maybe my mom wasn't loved by her mom, that's why she cannot show me love, or my dad was beaten up by his dad, so now he's beating me up. I cannot put that together. So what starts happening is I start thinking that there's something really wrong with me, and that's why I'm going through what I'm going through. And this is important to understand because now I can start understanding why is it that I'm procrastinating? Why is it that I'm having panic attacks, anxiety attacks? Why it is that I'm falling into perfectionism? Why is it I fall into self-sabotage? Why I fall into binge eating, overeating? Why I have anorexia? Why I have bulimia? Whatever it is that you're struggling, addictions towards alcohol, drugs, whatever it is that you're struggling with is the byproduct, is the solution to a deeper problem. And what does that mean? Listen to that, what I just said. You're saying, tell me that an addiction is a solution? Yes, it is a solution to a deeper problem. Addiction is not the problem. It's a solution. So when somebody doesn't feel loved and accepted, when somebody was judged, criticized, saw a lot of fighting at home, so, that little kid was exposed to violence, abuse of any kind, that little kid started to learn how to numb their emotions, disconnect from themselves because the pain was too big to deal with. And as they didn't know how to deal with it, they needed to create behaviors to numb the pain. So maybe as kids, the kids started, I don't know, eating, and they start eating a lot, or they try to get good grades because maybe that is going to get them to receive the love and acceptance from mom or dad, being the good kid, right? Perfectionism. Another kid could start becoming the rebel because maybe not doing what they're expected, they receive punishment, but at least it's attention. A lot of kids that don't receive attention start creating behaviors to receive attention, and that could be doing the wrong things, breaking toys, seriously, not behaving correctly because they're looking to be punished, because when they're punished, they're receiving some type of attention, and negative attention is better than no attention. So when we start understanding how the mind works, it's going to start making it easier to see ourselves in a more loving way in whatever behavior we're having. If I'm struggling again with food, any type of addiction, drugs, alcohol, porn, sex, workaholic, whatever, even people that are now going down the road of spirituality, I see a lot of people down that road that they're numbing their pain through spirituality, because in many groups, spirituality means being positive, means visualizing what you want and getting whatever you want. That is a load of crap. They're convincing people to think that they deserve whatever they want. And how do you know you're coming from ego or you're coming from spirit? You don't know. Because seriously, again, as I say many times, I believe that we are spiritual beings living a human experience, but the human part is very strong right now. So when somebody says, oh, I want to make $1 million because I'm going to be able to help a lot of people, most of them, they're trying to convince themselves that, oh, helping a lot of people, that's why I want $1 million. But at the end, what they're feeling is they're feeling not good enough. They're feeling not worthy. They're feeling like a failure. And if they have $1 million, that's going to solve all their problems. It might solve some problems externally. And I have had the possibility to work with several millionaires, several people making a lot of money. And deep down, all of them, the people that I work with, I'm not saying all the millions are there, but the people that I work with, they all felt some type of emptiness inside, unfulfillment, unhappiness, disconnect. So they had used the success to numb their pain. As another person might use eating to numb the pain. Making money could be a way of numbing the pain. When I make money, I feel good about myself. So I asked them, okay, what if you don't make money? And they would say, I don't feel good about myself. So what they were actually saying is that they didn't feel good about themselves and they were numbing that through money. The problem is when they make $10,000 a month, they didn't feel good enough. So now they went up to try to make $15,000 a month. Then they got it maybe there. And now they wanted to make more. So they went to $30,000. And several of the people I work with, they were millionaires. And they were telling me, and there was a guy that was telling me, Tommy, when I make $10 million, I'm going to be happy. Another one told me that when I make $30 million, I'm going to be happy. So they keep looking for the next thing to try to feel happy, accepted, valued. Hey, Mike, thank you for stopping by. So whenever we went through emotional, physical, or psychological traumas, we're going to create behaviors. We're going to disconnect from ourselves as a behavior to try to survive the pain that we went through as kids. And that is going to create the behaviors that we are experiencing today. So I don't believe self-sabotage is a bad thing. Self-sabotage, as most people call it, self-sabotage, right, is just the byproduct of a behavior that has a benefit. Yes, I know it sounds weird what I'm saying. What benefits self-sabotaging could be bringing? I'm going to give you an example. Some time ago, I was working with a guy that was scared. Sorry, he wasn't scared. He would tell me that he was procrastinating. His surface level problem was procrastination, like others, self-sabotage, others, perfectionism, overthinking, worrying. That is normally the surface level problem. So in this case, this guy was procrastination. So when I asked him, what was he procrastinating in, we had to do with building his business. When I asked about his business, he told me he was a marketing coach, trying to get clients to build his business, right? He had experience. He had helped several people grow their business. So he knew what he was doing, but he was not getting new clients. When I asked him about money, he said that he deserved money, that he felt good enough to get money, that he wanted to become a millionaire. So he said nice things, right? Supposedly that he believed in. So I told him, it's not what you think you think. You're telling me that you think all of these things are on money, but according to your actions, they're not really like that. Because if that were true, you would be getting out there and getting clients. So if you're not, it means that there's some type of mental block around this. So he said, okay, yeah, maybe yes. So he started opening up. When we started going into childhood, when he was a kid, his dad was mean to him with money. He used to help dad with different things, and he had to beg dad for maybe to get a new pair of shoes. And it wasn't that this guy would ask for a new pair of shoes every week. No, he would every now and then ask for something, and in a way he had to beg for money. And then later on, his dad screwed the entire family with money. He saw lots of fights between mom and dad around money, and later on his dad screwed the entire family with money. No need to get into the details, but dad ran away with money and left the family, kind of bankrupt in a way, right? So deep down, he didn't want to be successful because he was scared of being like his father. So self-sabotage was his protective mechanism because he didn't want to be like his father. Type 1 in the chat if this is making sense, people, what I'm sharing here around how the mind works and how this guy that was procrastinating as a protective mechanism. So whatever we're doing, again, people, we need to understand that it comes from something that happened growing up, that the mind is still reliving as if it were happening today. As I always say, the mind lives in the past. Yes, most of the time the mind is living or in the past or might be living in the future, but the mind is going to project a potential future according to our past experiences. Why? To try to protect us. Again, as I always say, so if the mind is trying to protect you, right, you need to understand why. What is the benefit of perfectionism? What is the benefit of, this addiction that you might having? What is the benefit? What is the mind trying to protect you from? Try to understand what is the story? What is even the memory the mind might be replaying that is creating these behaviors that are getting in the way of creating the life that you want? Because the only way to be able to start making changes is really going to the past to understand what is the mind using to create the behaviors or keep reinforcing those behaviors, right? Worrying, overthinking, or whatever it is that you're doing, it has a reason to be there. So instead of fighting the mind, you need to understand that the mind is acting whatever it was taught. So when you go into judgment mode, when you go into criticism, when you go into, I need to stop this, whatever, beating you up to try to change a behavior, you're adding more pressure. And as you add more pressure to the mind, you create more trauma. And as you create more trauma, the mind, there's more chances it's going to go back to those behaviors that you're trying to get rid in the first place. So to really understand the mind needs love and acceptance. When we were kids, what we needed was love and acceptance. That you can add encouragement, support, understanding, trust, a safe environment. You can add a lot to that. But in the core, we needed to be loved and accepted. Whenever we didn't feel loved and accepted, that created trauma. And from there, we created behaviors to survive. So instead of seeing those parts of you as the enemy, start practicing loving and accepting those parts of you, because as we love and accept those parts of us, we're able to dissolve those behaviors, because that behavior was created out of a lack of love and acceptance. So when you're able to love and accept that part of you, you're giving that part of you what it needed. When you give that part of you where it needed, that part of you is going to realize that it doesn't need that behavior anymore. So it's going to start dissolving that behavior. So again, whatever we're struggling with, it has to be a byproduct from past experience and from emotional, mental, physical, or psychological, mental, psychological abuse of any kind that we saw others experience or that we experienced. Not necessarily. Once I was working with a woman that she fell into perfectionism, and she would hate herself for falling into perfectionism because she was not taking actions in her life because she always needed to be perfect. And imagine she was trying to start a business, and if it's not perfect, I cannot get out there and start, offering my services. And when we went back to childhood, right? Imagine, right, checking her memories and what happened during childhood. She had several siblings, and many of her siblings, boys, didn't behave right, and mom and dad would judge them, criticize them, reject them, and punish them. So when she saw that, it made her feel a lot of pain, and she didn't want to be judged, criticized, or rejected by mom and dad. So she realized that if she were the perfect girl, she would behave correctly. If she dressed up correctly, if she got good grades, she wouldn't be rejected by mom and dad or judged or criticized or punished. So just by seeing how mom and dad behaved with her siblings made her believe that if I'm perfect, quote unquote, mom and dad are not going to judge me, not going to criticize me. But that also created this fear of taking actions, because that fear of taking action, if it's not perfect, I'm going to be judged and criticized. Now she was judging and criticizing herself. And as she wasn't realizing that, she was stuck in her life. As we started working on her past, now she was able to launch finally one of the businesses that she was working on finally. But it had to do with understanding the mind. So I hope that is making sense. Again, if you're watching on social media, #live. If you're watching on replay, #replay, it would be great. Share, comment here. The algorithm sees that and shows it to more people. So thank you very much. If you want to see more of this, just follow me. I have lots of things that I'm offering for free. And if you're looking for somebody to help you in any area of your life that you're struggling, not understanding your behavior, not being able to change, reach out. I have a free guidance call where I can help you one-on-one, see what's going on and understand how to start making changes. So thank you very much for watching. I